My favorite part of this hour so far has been listening to the laughter of the Dobbin girls. So without further ado, the one and only Josh Dobbin.
There is a ritual, an incantation, and it is an old ritual. It's a boys' ritual. Ever since boys have gathered together in groups, all down through the ages, probably back even to ancient Samaria, it has been enacted. It's kind of a magic spell in that it invokes strength and potency by proxy because boys of a certain age understand that they are neither strong nor powerful, but they hope one day to be so. So until that time comes, there's this ritual. It's simple. You've heard it before. It goes like this. Hey, I bet my dad could beat up your dad. Now, those of you who know me, and certainly those of you who know my dad or knew my dad, you would be surprised to find out I never engaged in this ritual when I heard it, because I understood, even as a very, very young boy, an essential truth, that those kids, they were having a word fight. They were engaging in a social battle, and that no matter who said what, um, and it's an unescapable, essential reality of the world that needed no defending from my boasting was that, dude, my dad could beat the hell out of their dads. Why is that? I'll tell you. Who was my dad? My dad was Joel Dobbin, and when I was born, it was his job to handle the most deadly and dangerous, venomous reptiles on planet Earth. He was a reptile keeper at the Bronx Zoo. For fun, he would rappel off of mountains. Later on, when I was about 8 or so, because this is how his life went, he was working at a 300 head of cattle dairy farm, and the farm owner, a former Marine, gotten into his face about some minor disagreement, and he was kind of a lunatic, this farmer, and he's yelling at my dad, and I see my father, in order to avoid a physical confrontation by way of showing that he was more than capable of having one, should one occur, lifted up a finger, didn't say a word, very calmly, turned, and punched this cow right next to the farmer in the middle of the head. And the cow wobbled, and the blow felled the cow. A single blow. It's not just physical stuff, too. Intellectually, my dad drove around in a 1974 bright yellow Chevy Vega that he won on Jeopardy, back from when you could win cars on Jeopardy. What are the Art Horn days before Alex Trebek? What else can I tell you? In the obituary that I wrote for my dad, I said this. See if I can remember it. In a world without dragons, Joel Dobbin fought crocodiles and famously wore the tooth of one that had been lodged in his leg for a while. These poor kids, they didn't know what they were getting into, these schmucks. My dad could beat up your dad. No. You know what? Fine. Just say that. That's fine for you. And all of this sort of speaks to the idea that a lot of people who knew my dad had, that he was a larger-than-life figure, right? I never saw it that way. Instead, it seemed to me that he existed as concrete proof of the idea that if you choose it to be, life can simply be lived that large. That's what life size is. But I did not come here today to give you an account of the legendary aspect of my dad or his adventures, because certainly he had more than his share, but rather to give you a moment, a portrait, kind of, in a more mundane setting, because those existed too. And I do want to say that I think it's a mistake to assume that you could have one moment that describes and the actions taken within that moment that tell you everything you need to know about a person. Because seeing my dad having a beginning, a middle, and an end, I realized that we are a collection and an aggregation of a multitude of moments, and but they're not infinite, and you get to have a bunch that define you or that sort of work towards showing who you are. And I'm going to give you just one, and ask that you take my word that it is indicative of many more like it. Okay, here goes. Tail end of 5th grade. I'm a latchkey kid. I'm home. I'm drawing the picture at the dining room table of an at It's a Star Wars vehicle. It's like this big giant thing that walks around. And my dad comes home before my mom this day, and he goes, hey, you want to go play Night Stalker with me so you get a higher score? It's an Intellivision game, early '80s game that we play together all the time. And I look up and I say, maybe I'm a little bit annoyed. I go like, no, I'm drawing this. And he stops. He looks at me. He goes, you okay? Yeah, I'm fine. I'm just drawing this. And it's true. I was just drawing this thing. And I was kind of annoyed and frustrated at myself because it was good enough for a fifth grader, but the angles weren't matching up correctly. And, later on, I would understand that I'd have to learn perspective and vanishing points and those sorts of things. But right now, all I knew is that my intention wasn't matching up with what I, or my execution wasn't matching up with my intention, I should say. And he stops again. And he looks at me and goes, you okay? And now I'm annoyed at this. I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. It's just a drawing. And here's the thing about my dad, right? He wore many hats. Sometimes he wore the hat of he was the stern giver of law. Sometimes he was the doler out of punishments. That was a hat. Other times he was more of a court jester, and that hat had bells. Sometimes he was an interesting authority on a variety of subjects, and that was a different hat. But sometimes, not all the times, but every now and again, this hat would come out, where he would become what I call the knower of hidden things. And so he says, no, is everything okay at school? I shrug, and I'm like, kinda. Now it's on. He smells something. And what he has sort of intuited and figured out, I don't know how. It's just how he worked. That day I'd been sort of hit sideways, handed a strange disappointment. 2 years previous at this town, Southbury, actually that's a place where the cows were, I had begun my school romantic career. It didn't work out very well. I liked this little girl, and I didn't say anything about it, and this kid was bullying me one day, and so I fought him, and this girl ran up. I'm like, oh, she's going to, and she kicked me in the shins because she liked the bully. She liked him. And so I figured that was my one experience, and so here I was, like 2 years later, and nobody has liked me, But about this time, my mom had gotten a bug in her head that I should stop going to the little Italian barber that cuts my hair that my dad brings me to, that I always end up looking like 1954. It's like smells of Brill cream, because this is the 80s. I should go to a stylist, feathered or something. And so for whatever reason, I had imparted to this idea of the haircut that it was going to be the secret ingredient, right, that changed everything. Kind of like the glue to fix me, or fix what I had assumed was kind of broken. I was a little unsure about my appearance and clothes and all that. And so today, the day where I'm penciling in that ad that was the first appearance of the haircut at school. And the week prior, I had done a strange thing also involving a crush. I manufactured one. I knew this haircut was on the horizon. It's just in my head. And I thought, nobody's ever going to like me. And there's a girl there, and I didn't really like her that much, but I knew other kids did. So I kind of thought, well, maybe I should, because she's been laughing at my jokes, and she talks to me and stuff, so maybe she's going to like me, and we'll like together, and it'll be Camelot. But I'm waiting for the haircut, right? And so I went in that day, and I don't know what the hell I was thinking necessarily. I was going to do anything about it, but it was just in my head. And it just so happened on that day that I overheard this girl, Michelle, she of the wholly and completely mercenarily contrived crush, that she thought this boy named Lee was cute. And Lee had a bowl haircut, so I realized my whole strategy was like out of the window. And that's what found me there drawing this thing. My dad saying, let's play this game. Like, no, I'm just drawing. And he goes, seriously, is something going on? And because I'm uncomfortable, because it's talking about a girl with my dad, I realize, like, from his point of view, I seem really squirrely, so he's going to press more, and it's not that big of a deal. In the grand scheme of things, it's not a big tragedy. It's just in my head. So I'm like, don't worry about it, Pop. It's not a big deal. There are bigger things in the world. And this is the moment I want to talk to you about. He stops, and I remember his face, and he looks at me, and he's very serious, and he says, "Wait, hey, don't you say that. Don't you say that. You don't have to qualify your problems against the world. You're 10. Your problems get to be big to you, okay? You don't have to tell me about them. But I don't want to hear you saying that your problems don't mean anything, because they're yours and they can mean something." So now I'm more concerned about his concern, because honestly, I just feel silly and stupid. Like, I had put so much thought about this. It's not that big of a deal. So now I want to get him off of the hook. And I'm like, I'll just talk about a girl with my dad. Okay, fine. I'm like, Pop, it's not that big of a deal. It's just that there's a girl. I kind of liked her and think she likes some other. And as I start to say the words, I realize suddenly my dad really was a knower of hidden things, because I didn't expect this to occur, but my eyes are burning and I'm suddenly crying hysterically and sobbing, and I'm just blabbering out all of these details about, and I can't stop crying. And he comes, picks me up like I was a little boy, and I'm blabbering into his shoulder. She likes another kid. Nobody's ever gonna like me. And it's so bad. I hear myself. I'm powerless to do anything, but I hear myself actually slip swear words into the middle of this. But I don't care. It's just a floodgate. It's just going, fucking full haircut. I don't know what. And if he heard it, he made no mention of it. He's just holding me real tight. And he's saying, I know. And he kind of leans back, carrying him back, sits back in the couch. And I just cry it all out into him. There's no words at this point anymore. I'm just wailing. And I realize I'm getting his shoulder kind of snotty, right? And so I start to apologize for the mess I'm making on there. And I look up and I see that it's not like he's crying exactly, but his eyes are wet. And that makes me hug him so hard. And that presses my cheek into the slime my nose had just left on his shoulder there. And that kind of breaks it. The wave subsides. And I say, can I go wash my face? Yeah, go. So I go. When I come back, he doesn't make a big deal of what just happened. But what just happened was a big deal. Instead, he has the TV on, the game is on, Night Stalker is on the screen. And my dad goes, "You want to play?" And we do. And that's Joel Dobbin. That's my dad. And not for nothing, but I got to tell you, I bet my dad could beat up your dad.